I work full-time freelance as a writer. So I'm hired to do sometimes a film screenplay, sometimes TV scripts, sometimes ghostwriting, sometimes novels, sometimes theatre stuff, and sometimes I run workshops, writing workshops, which I do run colleges and universities. So on a day-to-day basis, because I'm freelance, I don't have a boss. I may have producers or directors who tell me, we want you to do this, 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 but I never wake up and have to go into an office. I wake up, so I'll give you an example of a day-to-day basis of that. Wake up, I then turn on my laptop, check my emails to see if I've had any emails from the producer about what specific scenes they might want rewritten, and then I start writing. Because you're your own boss, you don't have someone there going, come on, you've got to do this now. So it works both ways. You've got to be very self-motivated. And then I will basically write for about 4 or 5 hours, grab something to eat, then go back to writing. Sometimes I'm writing to about 2 a.m. So I'll start around 11 a.m. and then basically write to about 2 a.m. Yeah, that's if I'm hired to do some screenwriting for someone else's project. Obviously, there's deadlines. When you first meet them and you're hired for the job and you're hired for the role, or if it's one of your scripts which they've picked up, which they've optioned, initially when they first give you the option, from then onwards, so much of actual writing when you're developing a script is actually done via emails and Skype, because you don't need to be face to face with them. In today's technology, you can go through everything on an email via Skype, especially if it's someone else's idea. Often I get hired by directors or producers where they've got a concept, but they're not writers. So they've got a great idea, usually directors, yeah, they have brilliant ideas, and then, but they, you know, it's like, I don't know how to get this on screen. And they come to me with like a 2-3 page synopsis, go, here's the story idea, what would you want to do with it? And I then say, this is what I do with it, and they then give you money up front, basically, to write out that concept. It's not an option or anything, because it's their story, it's their concept. And so they then give you development funds up front, usually anywhere between, I write very quickly, I churn out scripts anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks. But that's because I'm very lucky, I'm able to work solely full-time as a writer. Some people, you know, who are juggling other jobs take anywhere to 6 months to like a year to write stuff. Plus I enjoy doing it, so it makes it a lot easier. If you enjoy doing something, it makes it miles easier. So with that, if it's their idea, they will come to you, and you're hired purely as the screenwriter, and they will give you the money up front to write it. I've got to the stage now where I won't take stuff unless I'm interested in it, which sometimes financially, when you're freelance, can be a bit worrying. But what I found was, when I was taking stuff purely for the money, which at times, you know, if this is your full-time job, that's what you have to do at times, I found what I was writing was awful, because I didn't believe in it. And it was mundane, like you said, and so you're writing something you don't really believe in, and unfortunately it shows on the page. It doesn't matter if you're the Paul Schrader, who's the greatest screenwriter ever, you know, writing Taxi Driver. If you're hired to write something which you don't believe in and you're not enjoying writing, it will show on the page and it will read on it. And I've had producers go, oh, this isn't like the script you wrote, what you showed me that time. And it's like, well, because I believed in that and I don't believe in this, you know, and yeah, it shows. So the last 18 months, I've taken stuff purely where I think, well, that's an interesting concept. I like their idea, I think I can do something with this, and it will challenge me. You kind of reach a certain age where you think, well, if I'm just doing stuff purely for the money, to get paid, you know, to make sure I'm okay for like the next 3-4 months, you know, it doesn't read well, and you might as well just be working in an office, working in computers or something, because you'll make more money more regularly, you know. So yeah, it does show if you're doing something mundane, but yeah, I've stopped doing that now. I just do stuff purely if I think it's a challenge. I would recommend going to university, definitely. I mean, they can't really teach you how to write at university. The only way you can learn how to write is by writing. There's a correct way to format stuff, which you can learn in workshops, which they may have like a semester at university where you have a screenwriter came in. I had that briefly. And I go to unis and colleges and run workshops, you know, for people who are interested in screenwriting. what the reason I would say to go to university, you know, from a screenwriting perspective, and also if you wanted to be a director, yeah, the best thing to do is actually just go out there, direct stuff, write your own stuff, or get a camera and just film stuff. So, you know, having a degree isn't going to make any difference to you getting a job as a screenwriter or a director. It makes no difference at all.
I think the main thing I enjoy, I mean, I love films, so for me, that's the main thing. I get to see lots of films before they come out, sometimes up to 3 to 4 months before they come out, because that's when we do the test screenings. So it's just really exciting to see, you know, films, A, for free, and B, to get paid to work on them. You know, it's great. In a way, I don't really have a title. Well, technically, I'm a rep, in that, although I've been working in the industry since 2005, it's not a full-time job Monday to Friday. Basically, I get called in per project, and that's because I'm a musician as well. So sometimes I have gigs or concerts that I need to do, and I'm not available to work. So for me, it's the perfect job because I can work as much or as little as I want to work. So I don't really have a job title because I do quite a few different jobs. The main job is test screenings. So that is basically, we will go to an area where we're going to show a film. So for example, one of the years not too far from here, Kingston, there's a place called the Rotunda, and they have the View Cinema in there, you know it? And we often do test screenings there. So I will spend maybe a week before walking around Kingston and trying to get different types of people to come and see the film. And that can sound easy because you're giving out free cinema tickets, but actually it can be quite tricky because you're trying to get a certain type, a certain demographic. So you might want 25% 15 to 18-year-olds, and then maybe 25% 19 to 25, and so on. The great thing that this job has taught me is not so much just the writer's mind, which a lot of people have, or the director's mind, which again a lot of people have, but that kind of the way that you can market a film. A lot of people don't really know that unless you've worked in the industry, because you can have a great story, you can have great actors, you can have a great producer, director, but then at the end of the day you've got this great movie, hopefully, that you've made, and then how do you get it out there? How do you find the right people that are going to like your film? Over the years, I can't mention client names, but I can say they were like major companies, like major Hollywood companies. So if I did write a script, I would know exactly who to send it to, and there's a good chance that they would at least read it, because they know me. Hopefully they would read it. Whereas an unsolicited script, which just means you've sent it out randomly, they get those all the time. So the chances, even if you've written a really good script, the chances of it being read sometimes can be quite slim. But obviously you've got that contact, so yeah, definitely. That's a tough one because I didn't study media as such. I studied acting, and although I did one module that was on like sound design and things like that, I didn't really study the technical. I think it depends what you're trying to do, really. I think if you want to be a cameraman or something like that, I think then you need to go to like a college where you can learn about that, as well as getting experience. But I think for doing what I'm doing, it's best to go out there and just get the job. We have what we call a field manager, because basically the company, actually I work for two companies that pretty much do the same thing. There's sort of two sections. You've got the executives, and what they are, they're the market research staff, if you like, and they're sort of like the experts in their field for market research, and that's all the kind of data gathering, because basically at the end of the day what we're doing is gathering data of people, whether it's someone's opinion. For example, on the questionnaire it says, please describe in short words and phrases how you would describe this film to your friends and family. And then people can write quite descriptive. And what we do with all that information is that we literally then collect all that data, and you can actually then have it up on the computer and you can see at a glance how many people mentioned comedy in the film, how many people mentioned the lead actor in the film, and we send all that back to the producers. Well, I suppose actually, yeah, I mean, there's marketing courses that you can do if you wanted to go in that direction. I actually just got the job through the stage newspaper. I mean, it was literally just there. I'd left drama school, I didn't have a job waiting and ready for me. And in between auditioning for plays and TV and stuff, I needed to earn some money, to pay the rent. So I was just flicking through the stage newspaper and it said, "Do you love films?" I was like, "Yeah, I do love films. Would you like to work in the film industry?" It could be kind of cool. And it just sounded like a really interesting job, and so I applied, and they needed people to go out on the streets and give out their cinema tickets. And that's how it all started, and I've stayed with them since 2005. I mean, what will happen is I will literally get a text through saying, "We have a test screening coming up in 2 weeks' time. We need staff to go out and recruit. It's going to be in Wimbledon. The film is whatever the film is, and the age demographic is 15 to 45. Are you free to work? And if so, which days?"
I mean, there's a new way of filmmaking now. It's a new way of marketing as well. It's called transmedia. Have you experienced transmedia, multi-platform storytelling? Who's seen Prometheus? Media students who should be going to see films.
I'm a bit scared.
It's my pattern. Prometheus is a reboot of the Alien franchise with Ridley Scott, the original director, at the helm. And the way that it was promoted was very different to the way that any film has been promoted. Well, a lot of films are promoted this way now, but for instance, has anybody seen TED Talks? No?
TED Talks. You should all check out TED Talks.
Yeah. Well, TED Talks is where professionals will talk to people like us. They assume it's the classical thing, I'm talking to an educated but uninformed observer or receiver. And so they'll talk about aspects of their work. It could be science, it could be music, it could be anything, and they're invited to give a TED Talk. Well, to advertise Prometheus, Ridley Scott's son made a lot of fake TED Talks set in the future with characters from the film talking about their motivations and talking about backstory. So backstory do you know what backstory is? Yeah, okay, good. Backstory is dealt with in the transmediated elements, and it's generally the kind of the nerdy people like who will probably want to know all this backstory stuff. So it doesn't have to go in the film, so it doesn't end up being
Matrix did a lot. Matrix, they did a lot.
Yeah, Matrix was the game changer, but Nanette didn't really support what they wanted to do at that time because you couldn't have rich media being pushed out in quite the way that you have now. So, but that was the start, yes, certainly. But Prometheus, type in TED Talks Prometheus, you'll see Guy Pearce talking about, as a young man, talking about holding the company about the android played by Fassbinder, talking about aspiring to be a human being. I find that so fascinating.
Watching Lawrence of Arabia. Actually, I'm going to ask just a general question. How many of you, like in a show of hands, watch trailers online as opposed to on TV? Yeah.
Money wasn't really a problem then, but there has been a massive change now, massive, and I'm kind of glad I'm out of it. And I was telling some of the other groups that, yes, if you can get work in the BBC as runners or something like that, go for it, but they're not going to pay you. You're not going to get anything out of the BBC, and in fact you're going to have quite a hard struggle with them. And it's not just them, it's independent companies as well. Everybody, as we've been talking, money is really tight, and unfortunately there's fat cats at the top that take it all, and the guys at the bottom don't get anything. And I'm really, really angry about that. And I work a lot with a makeup school, and the girls from this particular makeup school in Ealing struggle to get work beyond, just like you guys. You're all in the same media business, you're all trying to get work. And it's just very, very difficult to get anything that's paid.
Films, I mean, basically it's a bit of a nice way. You make a small budget horror film, it does well, it spawns loads of sequels that can be shot for not very much money. I mean, Saw film is one of the ones of that did incredibly well. You know, it was cheap to shoot and it's just so successful. And not so much now because things like Blockbuster and things are dying. We still got Love Film, but the whole rental market is dying. But for a long time, that was the mainstay of horror films. It wasn't actually cinema. They might get a short cinema release, but it was DVD rentals and DVD sales is where they make
Video nasties, they used to be called.
Yeah.
Does the illegal download market help those films at all?
There's a massive argument in the industry about downloading, and it's not just film, but it's music as well. Kids like using favourite illegal, even downloading his own music, and so it's a tough one to answer because by downloading the film, people see it. You know, you're kind of getting it out there a lot more, but also then people are buying it. So it's hard. I can't answer that. I mean, no one can. There's so many people in the industry. But this goes way back. I mean, actually, there was someone said recently that there was like when VHS came out, they thought this is the death of the. Oh my God, all the film studios are going to collapse because you can record. Didn't happen. When it happened with CDs and music, oh my God, you can record. People can make mix CDs for people, and everyone's going to copy it. It's going to destroy the music industry. It hasn't happened. So all these kind of scaremongering things that have happened over the years with cassettes and with CDs and everything, all that. And look, there's still people being paid millions of pounds to make like albums, and there's still people being paid millions of pounds to make films. So it's not killing it yet.
I think was making fans interested. Beyond the coconut and the...
I'll give you an example. I was doing a pupil conference where lots of 12-year-olds talking about media came to class. And I downloaded this film. I don't know whether it was an exercise you ever did. It might have been after your time. The balloon, the clown and the little girl. There's a little short film by, I forget his name, but it's the Iranian School of Art and Design. It's called The Clown. It's about a little girl. It's an animation, about a little girl who gets knocked down, and then all you see is the mini smashed into a lamppost and her lying on the street, and then she wakes up and she's in this kind of half world, and it's obviously whether she's going to go towards the light or go back to the earth. And the person who has to make the decision, or help make the decision, is this clown. Yeah, very, very suspicious clown, and he tries to give her balloons, and as soon as she accepts one of his gifts, then she starts ascending to heaven, and she avoids all of this. So there's lots of foley in that, like all the footsteps, all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to know what sound the clown made. So I know what she made, the girl made. She's part of the real world, so her footsteps have impact, and fabric sounds when she moves, and little breath sounds. But he's not of this world. So what sound? So I was thinking about this because I wanted to show a load of 12-year-olds foley because they love all that stuff. And I was thinking about the cones and the wafers for the birth of the little dinosaur in the Lost World or whatever. So I was thinking, so in my mind he was a slug. And so I was thinking about going to a clown shop and getting, you know, those big tubs of hair gel that you would never put on your head, but and every time you do sounds, yeah. And I thought, yeah, that'd be good, but I got to do this class 3 times. I'm doing that. So what I got in the end was I had a 6-pack of Pepsi Max, and I had the plastic that covers the 6. And I used that. I decided it was going to be plastic. And so I just had a microphone. Every time you just squish this little quite thick plastic. I have no idea if that works. I love doing classes where I don't know if it's going to work or not, because it just gives me a bit of an edge. And that was one, and it really was scary how well it was effective that was.